I'm Michelle, 34. As I stood on stage, the weight of the world pressing down on me, I never anticipated that this moment would become the turning point in my life. The spotlight was blinding, and the silence in the auditorium was deafening. I had just finished my piano recital, a performance that was supposed to be the pinnacle of my achievements, but it had turned into a nightmare. My mind drifted back to my childhood, growing up in a small town in Vermont. I was born into a well-to-do family. My father, Richard, was a successful banker, always busy with his work. He was a kind man, but his constant absence made it difficult for him to be an active part of my life. My mother, Victoria, was a socialite, obsessed with appearances and social status. She believed that every aspect of our lives should be perfect, and any deviation from that was unacceptable. I remember being a little girl, sitting on my father's lap as he showed me pictures of far-off places. Those were the rare moments of warmth in our otherwise cold household. But as I got older, I realized that my mother's love was conditional. When I brought home good grades, she would merely ask, "Why not the best in the class?" When I won a minor award at school, she would say, "You can do better." My younger brother, Ethan, was born when I was 6. He was charming and athletic, everything my mother wanted in a child. He seemed to effortlessly meet her expectations, while I struggled constantly. I watched as he received her praise and affection, the things I yearned for so desperately. When I was 8, my parents brought home a poodle named Daisy. I was overjoyed at first, thinking that this furry friend would bring some happiness into our home. But I soon realized that my mother doted on Daisy more than she ever did on me. She would coo at Daisy, "You're the most perfect girl," and let Daisy sleep on her bed, something I was never allowed to do. My 12th birthday was a clear indication of my mother's priorities. She threw a big party, not because I wanted it, but because it was expected in our social circle. During the party, I overheard her talking to a neighbor. "Michelle is doing okay in school, but she lacks the charisma Ethan has. And her piano playing, well, it's just a hobby, I suppose." I stood there, my heart breaking, feeling like I was nothing more than a disappointment. As I entered my teenage years, I threw myself into my studies and piano practice. I thought that if I could be perfect, I would finally earn my mother's love. But no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. A 95% on a test would be met with, "What happened to the other 5%?" Then, I was selected for a prestigious national piano competition. This was my chance to prove myself, not just to my mother, but to myself. My mother suddenly showed interest in my piano playing when she heard that the competition could enhance our family's reputation. She hired a top-notch coach and arranged for professional photos to be taken of me. The night before the competition, she said, "When you perform, remember you're representing this family. Don't mess it up." There was no "I'm proud of you" or "do your best." It was all about her image. The day of the recital arrived. I was exhausted from all the late-night practice and the pressure. As I walked onto the stage, my hands were shaking. For the first few minutes, I played flawlessly. The audience was captivated, and I could feel the magic of the music. But then, in the middle of a difficult passage, my hand cramped. I hit a wrong note, and my concentration was shattered. I tried to recover, but 2 more mistakes followed. As I took my bow, I knew it wasn't my best performance, but the audience still applauded. Everyone except my mother. She sat there, stone-faced, her arms crossed. The car ride home was silent, filled with an unbearable tension. When we got home, she exploded. "What was that? You've embarrassed this family. Ethan would never have made such a mistake." I tried to explain that I was tired and that even professionals make mistakes, but she wouldn't listen. "You're just not good enough. Sometimes, I think I'd rather raise a dog than raise you. At least Daisy is grateful." Those words hit me like a bullet. I ran to my room, locked the door, and cried until I had no more tears. That night, I made a decision. I would no longer seek her approval. I would focus on building a life for myself, away from this toxic environment. I threw myself into my studies, not for her, but for me. I joined clubs and activities that I was genuinely interested in. My mother noticed the change and tried to stop me, saying that my piano playing was suffering. But I was determined. In my junior year, my English teacher, Mrs. Thompson, noticed that something was wrong with me. After class one day, she asked me to stay behind. She read one of my essays about a child's struggle for parental love and saw the pain in it. She told me that what my mother was doing was emotional abuse, and it wasn't my fault. Those words were a revelation. I had never thought of my upbringing in those terms. From that day on, Mrs. Thompson became my mentor. She helped me research colleges on the West Coast, far away from Vermont. In my senior year, I secretly applied to colleges and scholarships. When I received an acceptance letter from UCLA with a full ride scholarship, I knew my escape was near. When my mother found out, she was furious. She tried to stop me, threatening to cut off financial support. But I stood my ground. My father, to my surprise, supported me. He gave me some money he had saved for me and said, "I'm sorry I wasn't there for you more." My first day at UCLA was like stepping into a new world. I met new friends, and for the first time, I felt free. I studied psychology, hoping to understand why people behave the way they do, especially in families. During my college years, I met a wonderful man named Alex. His family was warm and loving, and they welcomed me with open arms. I witnessed a kind of family dynamic that I had only dreamed of. Alex encouraged me to share my story, to help others who might be going through similar experiences. After graduating from UCLA with honors, I decided to write a book about my experiences with emotional abuse in the family. I titled it Beyond the Shadows: Healing from Conditional Love. As I was writing, my mother found my old journals and was enraged. She accused me of trying to ruin the family's reputation. But I was determined. I continued with the book, and it was eventually published. It became a bestseller, and suddenly, I was a voice for those who had suffered from emotional abuse. My mother's carefully constructed image began to crumble as the truth came out. Now, as I stand here reflecting on my life, I know that my quiet revenge was simply telling the truth. It was more devastating to her than any act of anger could have been. Our family is slowly starting to heal. My father and I have a deeper relationship, and my mother, although still struggling, has started to see a therapist. I've learned that true healing comes from reclaiming my narrative and building a life based on truth and self-love. Have you ever had to break free from a toxic family environment? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Remember, sharing your truth can be the first step towards healing. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of overcoming family trauma. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, you are always more than how others have treated you.